Just a warning, we're gonna rush through this shit. I speak quickly, my voice will make this whole process unbearable. You're welcome. The Teacherless Writing Class by David Elbow is a manual of sorts that explains that the goal of this type of class is to get things inside someone else's head. This class is comprised of, ideally, 7 to 12 people who put forth weekly writings for 10 weeks. Diversity is important as a group of people writing in only one genre will reinforce the tropes of that genre, rather than explore what works or does not work for a broad range of readers, listeners, or haters. Individuals themselves can write in whatever form they feel most comfortable in, even writing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, or they experiment with different styles. Elbow suggests some possible forms of writing or writing exercises, which include 10-minute writing exercises, taking suggestions on writing what you're doing for a course or job, describe a certain meaningful event, place, or person, describing the previous object from a different angle, doing a mood-induced writing, writing another person's voice, a dialogue-only story, a fan fiction, an important letter or email, defining the undefinable, a persuasive task of one of your views, something almost like the last point, and you can write a poem. Oh boy. Elbow is indecisive on whether something should be read alone by an audience or read out loud. Copying processes aren't what they are now, so that may have something to do with it. Having the written work in front of the reader while you read it to them is the current strategy in creative writing classes, so Elbow would probably approve. The main stress here is that it's more important to learn what actually got through to a real reader than what might get through to an ideal reader. There should be a consistent structure to the course. Class should always meet at the same time every week for about 2 to 2.5 hours. There should be an elected chairman or leader, but it's not necessary. And the last 5 minutes of class should be devoted to writer's opinion of how the night's session went. These should be written down. People, aside from the reader, speaker, writer, should underline words they felt were important or shitty. Then, these people should summarize the readings in order to determine which details or plot points stuck out the most, as a test to see if the words got you right. These listener readers could also explain to the reader, speaker, writer what happened within during the reading process. There should be a balance in the explanation for the listener reader between what they felt and what happened. It's important to show for the listener reader's response, which is always something we hear anyway. Shout, don't tell. So I'm going to skip over these 24 points over this, but the first 4 classes should attempt at some of these strategies. Read it if you're so damn interested. Further points are, make sure the listener reader has had enough time to go over the work in silence, probably reading it silently a second time. The first few weeks, it may be easier for every listener reader to give her experience at the same time before moving to a one-at-a-time sort of method. Don't bicker with someone else's reaction to a work. Give specific reactions to certain parts of a piece. There are no wrong reactions, but there are some that don't give enough information. Some negative reactions should be left out for the first couple of weeks. Now, for the RSW, it is important to keep your mouth shut. Just read the writing, listen until everyone is finished. Don't try to understand what people tell you, but how they tell it to you, and don't reject or dismiss what they say. Don't be intimidated by what they say, as you don't let this scare you from perfecting a technique or continuing to use a certain method. The RSW should ask for what they want, like if they want focused feedback on something in particular. The class process is one where the initiator supplies the ingredients for success. The course should provide motivation, while also being straightforward but patient. With your own writing with others, and forcing someone to change their ways too quickly could affect the speed and genuineness of their writing. Too much arguing can hinder the class, but no confrontations could be a sign that the class isn't motivated. The experience should allow others to remain open with their writing and feedback. The class can succeed so long as there are people brave enough to share their piece and keep each other focused. Without a professional to guide them. This is, in summation, how the class operates until it is secretly destroyed from within if the students don't reenact a proper structure and abide by it. And now, thoughts in the Teacherless writing class. Still a little bit by Elbow, then me a bit at the end, just not so much. Elbow provides to us his method on why he believes the story class works better. First off, he developed the course when he became dissatisfied with his own process on grading others' writing. Beginning to question himself, he experimented with various ways of responding, but was still not happy with his results. Once he got a proper structure down for his new methods, he found he wanted more than one person to look over their piece of writing. Coffee. A draw of the class is that these short weekly writings may catch some small glimpse into how an audience would react to a piece of writing. So much writing. Eventually, these reactions will give you a feel for the actual audiences. Elbow explains that a teacher doesn't count as a true audience member, as she or he will not be as effective as an everyday person, typically because you're writing toward them over subjects that they've read over and over and over about, so they can pretty much catch bullshit. Basically, these course mates will listen better and interact more fully with their peers. Really, this should be the type of environment where a writer can learn through their mistakes and drop the inkfish. This type of class won't focus on grammar, sorta, but will point out grammatical errors that may detract from the experience of the reader. This is supposed to hopefully lead to a hybrid language or one that is properly code meshed, and hopefully the course will culture into a fine yogurt. Okay, so to first point out that this is still fairly similar to a writing class. At least it reminds me of current, at least the A-State creative writing classes in college. Granted, this piece was elbowed several decades ago. I feel that the whole idea of electing a leader of a group is already gearing the structure toward an everyday writing class. I mean, people tend to hold the opinion of a group leader in a higher regard than others, so this leader can spin the class the completely wrong way. Also, Elbow mentions that he observed these classes or recorded them, or both, and this could even affect the performance of the students he observed. Yeah, and I don't have much to say beyond that. I'm all for any sort of class that focuses on writing, because this does not get you to catch some errors or odd choices, because this does get you to catch some errors or odd choices in constructing or storytelling, like including 72 footnotes. I don't see how removing the structure of the classroom and replacing it with someone that has a faux structure helps at all. But for some, it's a little less intimidating because they don't want to have to pay for this sort of shit. They can write in their own free time. But either way, that was the breakdown of the Teacherless writing course. Don't even know if I got the name right. The Teacherless writing class. The Teacherless writing class.